Hi, I'm James the Box Office Artist, and welcome to this very special episode of The Throwback, where I go back and look at some of my original artwork, my professional artwork, and some fun artwork back in the day. And today is a lot of fun. As you read in the title, James Rays Can't Draw Humans. And this was actually a stigma I had about my work, I would like to say, 2002, 2003. Now let me set it up for you. At this time, I was working at a company called Dreamwave Productions. Okay, a lot of you heard that. And at this time, they just got the Transformers license. So Pat Lee, my boss, he took on the first title, which was more Generation 1 oriented, of course the more popular series. And then he asked me to go take on the adaptation of the cartoon that they had coming out, which was Transformers Armada. Okay, so that was my very first ongoing title. I talked about that before, Transformers Armada, and it was the my first ongoing series I did. And Transformers Armada #1 was the best-selling comic book of 2002, which I hang my hat proudly on. And I would like to say it was because of me, but really it's because of the franchise and because of what Pat Lee did before I went. But I'll take it nonetheless for sure. But however, there was a time because of this series that I started having that stigma that I couldn't draw humans. Now, you guys have seen my humans before. If you look back in previous throwback episodes, you saw some of the stuff I did in high school, and then you saw some of the stuff I did in college. Okay, and some of the samples that I showed you, they were from my college days. So I could draw humans in that sense, but there is a reason why I had that stigma, and I can't wait to tell you that story. In fact, why don't I tell you guys that story right now? So let's start off with this. This is the cover for Transformers Armada #3. Now, this was actually one of the quickest pieces I've ever did at Dreamwave. This only took literally only 2.5 hours for me to do, for me to pencil. And this actually turned out to be one of my most popular pieces at the time. Especially because you don't see this here. Like, I just put in Earth here because honestly I just wanted the colorist Alan Wang, who's a fantastic artist. He works at Ubisoft now as I believe he's a lead texture artist or something like that over there, but he's doing extremely well. But he went and he painted this beautiful Earth here, and this turned out to be one of my most famous pieces of my career, really. This cover for Transformers Armada #3. In fact, I'll flash you guys the colored version of this, and you guys can see exactly what Alan did with the colors of the Earth. And now, think about it on the time. You know, now knowing what I know about original art, I probably could have sold this back in the day for at least $1,000 back in the day, at least. But to get that grand, it would have had to been at that time. It would have had to been like right when it's released. I should have went to a con right away. I should have tried to push it right away. Things you pick up as you go along, okay? And before we get into the main bits, I just wanted to show you this too. This is the cover. This is the cover to Transformers Armada #1, okay? So this is my very first main piece here. Well, actually, I won't say it's my very first main piece. My first main piece was actually for Wizard magazine. It was a spread. It was to introduce Transformers Armada, and it was the very first time people actually saw Transformers Armada after they saw Pat Lee's Transformers G1 series. So I was doing the second title, and then this is a triple gatefold cover, as you can see. And then let me zoom in on some of the details here so you guys can see what's going on here. But yeah, doing the backgrounds here. Now at the time, and you'll notice this throughout all my Dreamwave pages, you'll notice that the characters were inked, and the backgrounds still remain pencil, in full pencil, as you can see here, full pencil. And that just gave the colorists a little bit more leeway. It helped separate the backgrounds from the foregrounds, and it actually helped a lot, for sure, because if they were to ink all of this, depending on the ink or two, things might get lost here and there. And you'll also notice the front here. Originally, like, this was the front, the foreground, and they told me that they didn't want this in the foreground. They didn't want this particular character in the foreground. They wanted something else. So, on a separate piece of vellum, I actually had to draw some other characters to put in the foreground, which were these guys here. which were these guys. These guys were mini cons, as we say. So I actually had 2 of these. So I drew this on vellum. So I had these 2 here, and then I had the one here, and then he actually went behind like this. And I believe it was it was like this, I believe, something like that all together, and it's hard to see with the vellum, but I will flash the color version on top here. So yeah, so this particular piece took me about a week. This whole thing took me about a week to do. You know, I'm still learning, you know, still trying to get a hold of the schedule, and in all honesty, when I was doing Transformers Armada, I was really behind on a lot of things, to the point where I actually needed some background help, just because I was so late with everything. And I really hated using the background artist. Not against the background artist himself. He was a fantastic guy, did fantastic work. It's just I wanted to do the backgrounds. As you guys know, I love doing my own backgrounds. So, all these guys are from the Transformers Armada mini-series now. Now, also with that, no, like I would have done a separate series for the first issue of Transformers Armada. But, hard to say. And I hope this never happens to any of you. I hope this never happens to any of you. One night, I was staying over at the studio, and then we stayed there overnight. You know, we fell asleep, and then me and my buddy, actually my background artist, I believe it was Edwin, we were gonna go for breakfast. So we went down to my car, and then I sat in my car, and then Edwin's like, "How come your car door is open on the side there?" Now, first thing you know about me, I'm a pretty messy guy. My car was pretty messy. I didn't even notice, but my car was broken into. My car was broken into, and what they stole a digital camera that I had, and unfortunately, they stole a portfolio worth of art. They did, and I believe it is. I believe they did steal it, because I'll be honest with you, I couldn't find that art, and then I realized, wait a minute, did I leave it in the car? So to this day, I just assumed someone stole it. It was in the trunk, and it was no longer in the trunk. Okay. Now maybe I was mistaken. Maybe it's somewhere in my parents' house, but I never found it again after that. Like, I went to the police. I told everyone online, and here's the thing: no one saw any of the pieces for sale. No one ever saw any of them for sale. So maybe it's in my parents' house, I don't know. But a lot of my main pieces from a Transformers Armada #1, I classified that as stolen, unfortunately. So I hope that's something that never happens to you. It's one of those things where things like cameras and all that stuff can be replaced. Artwork cannot be replaced. So I hope that doesn't happen to any one of you. But here's where we get to the fun part. Okay, that's the depressing part, and this part might be even more depressing. But we're gonna skip over issue 2, because issue 2 has some great art, which I have. I have the issue 2 art, so I'll show you that another time. But I'll skip to issue 3 mainly for the story. Okay, so I'm gonna go to issue 3, and then likewise. Okay, so I had some cool things going on here. Now you might notice things like empty panels like this. We call those stat panels, and it was just a trick we used just to kind of speed production. Now, the only problem with doing stat panels is that it really devalues the value of your original artwork. Okay, so for example, see these things here? These are explosions. What happened was, like, we took this and we statted it under here, and we put these on top. Okay, so these pages look complete. And this is panel 1 without the ship, right? So we just took this, put the exact same thing here in Photoshop, and then we colored it differently. So it was a way to save time, because then I only have to draw a few little things. But when you do that, you sacrifice the quality of the original art. I probably can't sell this page today. I can't, just because of the stat pages. Or if I do sell it, probably not for like maybe $25, $30, depending of how big a Transformers Armada fan, and there aren't that many nowadays. So again, I missed my opportunity to sell this. All this stuff, they would have been hotter if I would have sold this when the issue came out. But let me just show you a few more pages here from issue 3. Here's page 2, like a devastated Cybertron, and then Megatron here. I drew my Transformers a lot like this, with the lower half kind of in your face. I did that a lot. And here's the thing: I was looking at a lot of old Takara artwork, all Japanese robots at the time, and a lot of them had this pose where you're looking up at them. And then just for some reason, I always drew my characters with their nether regions in their face. So you'll notice that a lot with my robots around this era. It wasn't intentional, it just kind of happened this way. But now looking at this is a real funky pose. Okay. Okay, and I'll just show you a few more pages of this. This is where the mini-cons, as they were called, mini-cons, they would crash to Earth. So that's their ship. Again, doing a lot of these stat panels here. Stat, page 24, panel 3 of issue 2. So it was one of those things where, because I was so far behind on the deadline, I would steal things from other issues. Now, I'm not the only one to do this, right? A lot of comic artists do this, but at the same time, it's not very professional. And again, it really hinders the sale of the art. So I really wish I didn't do that for these now. And well, at the same time, I wish I would have sold them when I, at the time when I could have sold them here. Again, a lot of this stuff probably wouldn't move nowadays unless they are a huge fan of that era or that's a beloved comic book. Now, this is where we're going to get into the fun part of the story here, guys, because as you can see here, okay, they're going to start crash landing. Here, they're crash landing on the Earth. Well, it's not the Earth yet, it's a planet. Oh, sorry, no, that's the moon, sorry. That's the moon. And then you notice I said Earth here, because I wanted them just to put a picture of the Earth here. I don't even know that was legal at the time. So, part of the ship crashes on the moon, okay? And then the ship breaks off, and then goes on the Earth, and then again in prehistoric times. So now, guys, we are starting to dwell in the realm of humans. Now, for the first two issues, no humans whatsoever. They were on Cybertron the whole time. The people have never seen me draw a human before. Now, this is where the fun part of the story comes in, okay? But even before that, let me just show you something very, very quickly here. This is a page. I won't take credit for this page. This is my buddy Edwin. He drew the backgrounds to this. Did a phenomenal job. But I'm showing you this. This is stuff I did back before in the day. Now here we go. Here's where it starts, okay? Here's where it starts, okay? This is going to be a lot of fun. This is where we start being introduced to humans, okay? Now, okay, so I won't spoil the surprise. So, I did these backgrounds here because I wanted to. I wanted to do the first backgrounds pretty much to give Edwin a base when he does his. Okay, so sometimes I did my own background. So I drew this background. Okay, so this is all me. Okay, now we're getting into James Ray's drawing humans. Okay, now this is the one I sent to. This is the artwork I sent to to Hasbro. Okay, now here's an interesting thing. See this? This is my house that I was living in at the time. This is what my house looked like at the time. This was actually my car. This was my car, and I drew my car. Again, now I see perspective problems, all that kind of stuff. But that's beside the point. Right now I want to focus on the humans itself. So you see her face, not too bad. Of course, there are proportion problems all over the place. Like this guy is kind of weird. But with that, we sent this to Hasbro. And here's the thing with Transformers Armada. It is it's a comic book adaptation of a toy line. So the comic book had to match the toy line, and I was not drawing it like that. So they said to me, can you draw it more like the cartoon? And I hated that idea. I really, really hated that idea. And I said, you know what? I'm going to do that. I'm going to draw like the cartoon, but I'm going to make it the crappiest looking, ding, that was the idea, crappiest looking cartoon out there so that they will let me go back to drawing it this way, right? So, in essence, this is what I drew, okay? So this is the before, and then this is the after, okay? I don't know what I was trying to do here. I think I was trying to do like a, Joe Madureira type of ripoff, very poorly. That's what I did for that. I'll show you another example of that. For example, this is the original page here. As you can tell, it's not even inked. And again, this isn't the best. Like, this face is kind of weird. Again, I didn't understand fully structures of faces yet at the time. But you can see some of my style coming through with all the hair and everything. Right? That face is okay. So they didn't like this. Look at how big that hand is. Oh, that's kind of weird. But they didn't like this. And again, it's not the best either. So I don't blame them in that sense. But they wanted to look more like the cartoon. So like, okay, again, the crappiest characters I can. So I took this, and this is what I drew. Boom, like that. Oh yeah, it's not bad. Looking at this now, it's not bad. You know, And there, just to compare what I drew before, what I drew after. Pretty much I kind of traced what I drew and then just made it as simple as possible, right? Same thing, before and after. Here like that. So again, we sent these pages to Hasbro. They didn't want it. I changed it to this. Let me show you one more example of that. Here's another page here. I like the way this guy looked. He looked pretty cool. So this is the way I drew my kids originally. Okay? And then, again, they wanted me to change it up. So this was the change-up page. Okay? Again, a little bit more cartoony, a little bit more anime, and a little bit more in line with what the actual cartoon was. So you see that, the before and after there? Before and after. I'm thinking about it. Am I allowed to show you guys this? Well, whatever. It was a long time ago, right? So I totally understand where Hasbro was coming from. And so I was trying to make it pretty bad. I honestly was trying to make it pretty bad. But here's the deal. Here's the problem. We showed this to Hasbro, and they loved it. They loved it. Unfortunately for me, they loved it. So I was stuck drawing the entire series like this. Now, not saying that this was any better, per se. But as you guys can tell, this is more me. This is more my style, right? You guys look at this. Look at the way I rendered him. Even today, that's how I draw, right? This is how I draw. And I've been totally more happy drawing it like this than drawing it like this. But Hasbro wanted me to draw like this. So for the rest of this issue, I would draw like that. And again, here's another before and that. Here's another before. I don't know where the after is for this change. This is before. This is how I was drawing it. Here's another before and after. I'll show you another one here. We have the high-fiving. Again, there are problems here. I'm not saying these are the most perfect artwork. This eye looks really weird out here. It should be pushed in a little bit more. So let's see before and after. And some of you guys might like the after, and that's totally cool too. That's totally cool too. But you guys can see the before and after. But here's the deal. After doing all this, okay, now I really started. Okay, now I had the pencil like that. So I took it and I'm like, okay, you know what? It's still a penciled comic book gig. I'll just work with it, and I'll get the pages done a bit faster. I'll get back on track, back on time. Here's the problem though. The fans hated it. The fans absolutely hated it. You know, and it's comic adaptation. Like, in all honesty, this is closer to what the actual cartoon looked like. So I totally understand that. But at the end of the day, the fans, they didn't like it. They hated it. And just show you a couple more pages here. But they just didn't like it at all. And which was unfortunate for me, because for years, well, I won't say for years, but as long as I was working on Dreamwave, I had this stigma that James Reyes could not draw humans. Take the humans out of the book. Let James Reyes stick to what he's good at, drawing the robots. Take away the humans. Why is James trying to attempt the humans? I've had that for my entire Dreamwave career. Now, the people in the business, they knew better because they've actually seen my stuff. And then we had people who came into Dreamwave, and they were trying to give me human advice on how I drew my humans. I'm like, look, I was forced to draw this way. And then I showed them pictures of my work, and then they apologized after that, like my real work. And you guys seen my other work, right? My college work and all that kind of stuff. They seen my real work. And partially it's my fault. And partially it is my fault. Like I should have put more effort into these guys. It was more because you know, I wasn't. Let's be honest, I didn't like drawing this way. And you know, when you're doing something you don't like, you don't put your 100% effort into it. I didn't put my 100% effort into these guys. I'm sure if I worked harder at it, if I wanted to work harder at it, these guys would have looked even better. Looked better than what they do now. But, you know, I kind of gave up. And that's a rookie mistake, guys. Blaming other people when you are, at the end of the day, you're in control. Yes, I had these parameters, but there were things I could have done to make these better. And then I was talking to one of our supervisors, and he was telling me, he's like, why did you do this? Why did you even give them this option? You should have just went back to your style and just altered it, right? Altered the face a little bit. Keep the blacks in there, just alter the face. You went too extreme. You went too extreme, because now you're stuck with this. So that's a gamble sometimes you face, guys. You'll come in, like, especially if you work in concept, sometimes you will, like, for example, you show a client and I still do this sometimes. Just say they want a design of a head, and then you give them 3 different versions, and then you make like throwaway versions. You do one of the ones that you hope in your mind they would never pick. They would never pick, but you just put it in there so they could cross it off. So you just say no, 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 and they hopefully pick the good one. And that 5% of the time, they will actually go and pick the bad one. Or the one you don't want to do. That's exactly what happened here. No one to blame but myself in this instance. I gave them this option. I gave them this option, an option I couldn't pull off well. They went for this option, and I couldn't pull it off well. So, not saying that the sales of the book hurt. It did not. The book sold really well, but it just, for me personally, I had that stigma for quite a while that I couldn't draw any people, and hopefully I changed that. Hopefully, maybe I still can't, but still learning every day, even to this day. All right. But just to finish this off, I did want to show you this cover. This was a cover to, this was going to be an alternate cover for issue number 4. And this one, I said, forget everyone, I'm just going to draw it in my style, and I was a lot more happier with this one here. I should have drew them like this, right? Now, again, this isn't the best. Could have been better. And then I had some humans running on the bottom. Again, not the best. Could have been better. I was a little bit more happier with this cover than with the stuff I did on the interiors, for sure. But you know, it is what it is. It happened. I learned a ton from it, and hopefully you guys learn a little bit from that too. So that was it. That was my story of how I can't draw humans. Okay, and that was a fun time in my life, and it's one of those things where here's the deal, guys, and it's a great you know, example of things that could happen even today, because nowadays it's, you know, we all put our work up on the internet, and you're gonna get criticism from everybody. Back then, this is 2002, there was no Twitter yet, there was no Instagram, there was no comments from there. I got these harsh comments from message boards for the most part. A lot of message boards, Transformers message boards and all that. Mean comments that way. I can't imagine what it would have been like if I had Twitter and all that kind of stuff back then. But that's the deal with posting your stuff online today. Because the fact is, guys, you are going to get criticism. Like, I get criticism on my channel every single day, and that's cool, that's no problem. But it all comes down to, guys, how do you handle that particular criticism, okay? So we're getting away from, you know, what, you know, Hasbro wanted me to do. First of all, again, I kind of handled it wrong. Like, first of all, I gave them something I didn't want to do. And unfortunately for me, that 5% of the time, they actually chose the thing I didn't want to do, and I was stuck with it, and I was upset, but it was my fault. I gave them that option, and they took it. And instead of trying to improve that, I just kind of sulked a little bit and went about it. You know, so like the whole time people giving these comments like, I can draw better than this, but I was still not improving, and I should have strived to improve. So that's where it comes down to when people give you criticism, guys, and you're going to get a lot of it. You're going to get a lot of it, whether it be from comments online, whether it be from actual editors, professionals. It all depends on how you take it, okay? Now, unless everybody in the world is willing to buy your art, right, for what it is, right, you need improvement, okay? You need improvement. Everybody, even me, I need improvement for what I want to do, okay? So people who criticize you, there's 2 types. They're the ones who's genuinely interested in helping you get better. And then there's those guys who are just jealous. How can you tell them apart? And some of them because it's written, some of them you can't tell exactly, you know, how they're really saying it. Are they saying it angrily? Are they saying it jokingly? You know, you don't know. All you got is that little blurb there about how they're criticizing your art. So there's 2 ways to take it. Number 1, like, no matter how they say it, meanly or not, do they have a point? Do they have a point when they say your proportions off? That, like I got for my Black Panther, that the hand looked too big. And they were absolutely right. The hand looks giant now that I'm looking at it. You know, stuff like that. Do they have a point? And is there something you can do with that information that will make your artwork better? Take that into consideration. Second, if they don't have a point, why are you listening to them in the first place? If they don't have a point, just brush them off as jealousy, okay? Jealous that they're not putting their own work up. But you gotta be honest with yourself. Be honest with yourself. When someone criticizes you, whether in a good way or a bad way, ask yourself, do they have a point? Are they right? And can what they say turn me into a better artist? Everything in the world, it's about how you take things, okay? And you're going to receive a lot of criticism from editors if you want to get in comics, from art directors if you want to get into concept art. You're going to receive a lot of it. Every single day, you're going to receive a lot of criticism. You can't go into this type of business without that type of thick skin. And when I say thick skin, I'm like ignoring them. No, thick skin as a way to kind of absorb what they take and kind of take it. And not only that, improve on it. Okay, like I'll be honest, like I met a lot of students that aren't willing to take that information, or they think their stuff is so good that they don't need to be there because they think their stuff is no good. And I see their stuff and they're not that great. They're not. And is it because they're trying to shut things out and they're not listening to anybody? Maybe. But you're only going to get better, guys, no matter who you are, no matter what you do, if you don't listen. Okay, and that was one thing I wish I did. I wish I took that criticism and worked on it. Now, well, also at the end of the day, I didn't want to do that style at the end of the day, so I stopped doing that style after a while. And then I kind of did a little bit more manga style when I worked a little bit with Udon, which you guys saw a little bit before. But it's one of those things, all about how you take the criticism, okay? So that's my story, and I'm sorry to get all preachy and all that stuff at the end, but, you know, it's something all of us as artists face every single day, and I think at the end goal, if you're watching this video, you want to get better at your work, and I personally want you to get better at your work, and the only way you're going to get better is if you take the criticism, if you follow people who know more than you, that, you know, they're giving you good instructions, you follow that, like Greg Capullo, right? Remember that editor he was talking about, telling him bad things about his art, and then 2 years later, Greg Capullo realized what he was actually saying and finally started incorporating that in his art? Don't take 2 years, okay? Take all that information from everywhere, all those sources. It's all about making yourself better, and if you are willing to do that, if you're willing to be humble about your work, always willing to improve your stuff, then you could do, I know you're going to do so well in this business, and I can't wait to see it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thank you for listening to my rambling. If you got this far, please continue to follow me on social media. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook at Box Office Artists. Actually, not Facebook. Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter at Box Office Artists. You can watch me live stream on Facebook Live. I do that pretty much every night, with the exception of last night because my phone died. I need to get my charger back for my father-in-law. But pretty much almost every night I'm live streaming there. Go over there and check that out. Facebook.com/TheBoxOfficeArtist. Please share this video. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. And I will let you guys know right now that I am working on really establishing what content will come out each day. Pretty much it's been for the more or less consistent, but I want to put that out there. Say Monday it's this, Tuesday it's this, Wednesday it's this, Thursday it's this, Friday it's this, Friday it's this. I will make that announcement next week, along with what the future will hold of my vlog channel. I will let you guys know about that next week. I haven't been updating my vlog channel in a long time, and I will let you know about that very shortly. Thank you guys for watching. My name is James. I'm the Box Office Artist. I'm here to say keep drawing, no matter what anyone says. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.